Welcome to the Alaskan Trawler Build Series. This is a series of videos that shows how I built this mini boat, cabin, cruiser over the course of about a year. When I first went to the drawing board on this one, there were a number of prerequisites that I wanted to meet. The lake that I built it for is very shallow and very choppy. The summer heat will often reach over 100 degrees and it's always incredibly windy. I needed a stable boat that could handle the chop and also shield me from the wind and the sun, so I knew it needed a cabin. This boat was going to need considerable structural support to handle the constant pounding of the waves. A closed bow design with a lot of freeboard was essential to surviving the quick 2 to 3 foot chop that is common on this lake. I wanted a flat bottom for initial stability rather than a V-bottom. The V-bottom would have been better in the rough stuff, but it would have lacked stability when empty or when getting in and out of the boat. It also would have been more tippy if the kids wanted to take it out. A boat with a pointed bow would have cut through the chop much better, but I would have had to sacrifice overall beam and cabin space. In the end, I decided that a wide-body John boat style hull would be the best for what I was trying to do. The boat needed to fit in the bed of my full-size pickup truck, so it needed to be under 8 feet in length and under 48 inches in width. With a closed bow and a cabin, I wouldn't be able to access my bow for docking and anchoring, so I also needed to be able to open one of the front windows to reach out and grab stuff. I wasn't sure if I would use a gas outboard or an electric trolling motor for the boat at this point. The outboard would add considerable weight and strain to the transom, but it would give me a lot of range and would give me the power I needed to keep the boat pointed in the right direction if the wind or weather picked up. I decided to build the boat to handle the outboard just to be on the safe side. The steering will need to be built heavy duty with cables and pulleys, and if I changed my mind and went electric, it would still work. I sat down and started drawing out plans on graph paper. In the end, I had drawn about 4 variations of the same boat. When I had a design that I liked, I went outside and drew side and overhead views on the concrete with sidewalk chalk, so I could see it in full scale. I could see if the cabin was tall enough, or if the boat was wide enough, was there enough leg room, things like that. And then I would sit back down and make adjustments to my drawing or start over from scratch. I ended up with an unusual looking boat, a John boat hull with a trawler style cabin, similar only to something I had seen in the aluminum Alaskan salmon fishing boats, hence the name for the design, the Alaskan Trawler. Once I had my design, it was time to evaluate my tools and my budget. I felt that power tools such as a miter saw, circular saw, jigsaw, sander, and a drill would be essential. A router would be a plus and give much better finished look. For hand tools, I would need a speed square, a T-square, an angle finder, and some wood chisels. Luckily, I had already had all of these in the garage. What I didn't have were any fiberglass tools. I needed scissors, rollers, spreaders, mixing cups, respirators, gloves, razor blades, acetone for cleaning up, and wood flour to make my thickened epoxy. And that was just to get started. My only access to lumber is a local big box store, so I was extremely limited in my choices. I opted for exterior ply. One side is finished and the other is full of knots. It has water-resistant glue between the plies, but not waterproof. This is far inferior to marine ply, but I had no other choice. For my boards, I went with pine. It's cheap and it's got low expansion rates when it's exposed to moisture, which is why it's always been popular for boats. To compensate for the poor quality of the wood that I was going to be using, I decided to use epoxy on every single surface that I could, inside and out. I covered the entire hull in 6-ounce glass for added protection against abrasions that could expose the wood to moisture. On the hull, I would end up doing around 3 coats of epoxy on the fiberglass to add protection and fill in the weave pattern on the glass. Whenever I had a question on applying the glass, the resin, the fairing compound, or the paint, I simply called the manufacturer and asked for tech support. This gives much better and quicker results than listening to people's opinions in online forums or videos. I still managed to make my share of mistakes, but in the end, the phone calls were the way to go. For epoxy, I went with Rocca, and I have no complaints about Rocca epoxy. It worked out great. For exterior paint, I used Rust-Oleum topside marine paint. Next time I paint a boat, I'm either going to use automotive 2-stage paint with my HVLP gun if I want a showroom finish, or I'll just use oil-based exterior deck paint and not be so anal about the finish. Deck paint is used by all the commercial wooden boat yards, but it doesn't necessarily offer a great finish. The Rust-Oleum paint I used was okay. My problem with that paint is that it didn't lay down very flat and it had dry times that were in the neighborhood of 48 hours plus. I also couldn't find it in any quantities greater than a quart. This can lead to slight mismatches in the color if the quartz didn't all come from the same batch at the manufacturer. I tried the roll and tip method on the cabin and deck and did a little better. I got some decent results with that, but I didn't dare to thin it out due to the already lengthy dry times of the topside paint. Doing at least 3 coats on all exterior surfaces left me with about a week of waiting for paint to dry every time I decided to paint something. Epoxy was about 24-hour cure time depending on the temp, but I would usually give it 48 hours before any kind of scuffing or sanding. I had so much fun with this build that I wanted to build more boats. I started a website with a forum where we could all share information on building these mini boats. I wanted to host a site where people could share and download plans for free and be inspired by other people's designs. I design boats on FreeShip, which is a software program. It's free to download, and then I loft them out and build them in full scale. Every time I do one of these builds, I'll post the plans for free and then have a video that shows the build process from start to finish. My oldest son helped me with this particular build, and it was a great bonding experience. I have 7 kids, and I would love to build a boat with each of them. Please swing by my website armylakeboatco.com, and have a look around. You can offer support on Patreon or buy a shirt on the website. With the monthly cost of the website and post-pandemic plywood costs, every little bit is helpful. YouTube subscriptions help me see that people are interested in these boats, and they encourage me to continue in the hobby and keep making videos. Just comment on the videos and let me know what kind of content you want to see, and I'll do my best to get the videos out there. Thanks.